Welcome back to The Sound of Latin America. We are going to call in with Jill. Actually, she's already here. I hope I can hear her. Jill, can you say something?
Hey Eric, how are you?
That's such a big relief. It's good to hear you. Thank you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well, loud and clear.
That is great. Jill, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Allow me to introduce you so people know who's my guest of today. So, we have here Gill Merrill. She was born in Bahia, Brazil, but as a baby she moved already to Sao Paulo, where she would later study journalism. In 2004, she made a bold move to the UK, looking for greater freedom and safety as a gay woman. After more than 22 years in marketing, she shifted into education and research, and eventually she relocated to the Netherlands with a partner. Gill is the author of the book Biology Bias. This is not even Portuguese, Gill. I think I just have a general problem with pronunciation. Biology Bias, the real reasons. Can you pronounce it yourself? Sorry.
Yes, biology bias, the real reasons behind our decisions.
Thank you. And she's making the documentary The Truth About Biases, which dives into how prejudices have shaped the way we think and behave. All right, Jill, that's a very short introduction of who you are. But of course, I have a lot of questions for you because today is all about Brazil. You grew up in Brazil. How was your childhood like? And can you maybe share one or two vivid memories of your life there?
Yeah, well, I'm really glad you're making this program about Brazil, but I'm thinking as well, where do we start? It's such a huge and diverse country, and it's a country of, people from all over the world. So I was born in Bahia, as you mentioned, which is the northeast of Brazil. My family is mostly from there. So my earliest memories of Bahia are going to the farm, riding horses. My family lived in one of the biggest cities there. It's called Vitória da Conquista. But we also had a farm in the countryside, and my family as well. So we used to go often to the countryside. And I actually didn't spend so much time in Bahia as I wish I had. But these are some of my earliest memories, just going to the farm, people cooking things from scratch and baking and just doing things as a family. So that's my earliest memory, I would say.
And in 2004, you moved to the UK, seeking greater freedom, safety as well. And you mentioned as a gay woman. Do you really remember if there was like one special certain moment where you made that decision, where it was like, okay, now I'm really going to change and I'm going to move?
Yeah, it's funny when I look back because that was such a few decades ago, and but I remember growing up thinking that I would probably live somewhere else, because I think as you become aware of yourself and you think of the situation and what the things that happen around you, that shapes your thoughts and your wishes. And I think from an early age, I thought that things would be a little bit difficult for me, maybe a little bit harder for me than for others in my family. So, I think from an early age, I had this idea, and I actually managed to do it after I graduated in 2003.
And do you ever regret that decision? And do you maybe feel like one day you will move back?
I think sometimes because there's always a trade-off with everything, especially when it comes to leaving your family behind. So I'm the only one who's living abroad right now in my family, and I have a big family. So I had a cousin who moved to California, another cousin who moved to Japan, but they went back to Brazil eventually. I'm the only one still living abroad. I actually tried to go back. I went to Brazil, to Sao Paulo in 2010. But it was harder for me to adapt back, as strange as it sounds. But I think what I regret was, of course, leaving my family behind and missing everyone. And especially after my parents passed away during COVID in 2021, you look back and you think, I wish I had spent more time with them. But in terms of the trade-off of what I gained, I accomplished many things that I think were only possible by living where I was living and having the freedom to be myself. So I think that was the trade-off for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. I guess it's not an easy decision. You can never do it. You want everyone to be close, but at the same time, you want to choose, of course, for your own life and your own ambitions.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
What are some of the things that you really still miss from Brazil? Like we talk about some things and we know each other, but is there anything like, oof, I wish that was just around the corner?
Yeah. I miss different things from different states, but I spent more time in Bahia and Sao Paulo, sometimes going to Rio, sometimes going to Minas Gerais or Rio Grande do Sul. And each state has its own culture and its own food, its own flavors, and its own music, as you know, different types of dance. Is just very, very rich. But I would say the spontaneity in which a party can happen. For example, you get a few friends together and just casually you call someone else and then they call someone else and then all of a sudden you have a little party going and things are very informal. It doesn't require that much planning, at least in my experience. And also, the same when you finish work. You have this local bars where you always see music being played and people stay until late at night, just having a good time, not necessarily drinking too much, but just really dancing and chatting. I think it's, despite all the challenges, I think Brazil has a happy culture. I think people like to get together and enjoy the weather or enjoy each other.
All right. I can totally see that. I've never been really into all these other places in Brazil, but I can imagine from the culture, yes. And it sounds very good. You also brought a song. We are going to listen to the next song before we continue talking about your book. It's a song from Bahia. Can you really briefly, because we don't have a lot of time, can you briefly mention what is this song about and what it means to you?
Yeah, I love this song. It's by Gilberto Gil. So Gilberto Gil is a former Minister of Education. He's one of our most prominent singers in Brazil, and he's from Bahia. So I actually have the name Gilmara. So Gil is short for Gilmara, and it's Gil. It's thanks to his name. So my mom was friends of Gilberto Gil when they were growing up in Vitória da Conquista. He was not famous at the time. I think she used to borrow his bicycle or something like this. She would tell me stories. And his dad was a doctor in Vitória da Conquista. They still have, I think, a square with Dr. Gil's name, Gilberto Gil's father. But anyway, Gilberto Gil has amazing songs and they blend African culture with European instruments, and the lyrics are quite really interesting. Some of them are political, some are just really happy songs, and he always managed to blend, make intelligent songs, but at the same time songs that you can dance to. So this song in particular, my mom used to sing for me.
All right. So we are going to listen to... Do you maybe want to introduce the song, Jill? Because I know you can do a way better job than me.
Yes, it's called Toda Menina Baiana. It's all the girls from Bahia. Every girl from Bahia. About the girls from Bahia.
Thank you, Jill. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Gilberto Gil with Toda Menina Baiana. Welcome back. You're listening live to the Sound of Latin America. And today we could actually change the name a bit because it's more like the sound of Brazil.
Yes.
Brazil!
Thank you, Jill, again for joining us. So Jill is here. She's calling in, not from Brazil, because she's living in the Netherlands, but she's joining her from, I believe, Utrecht.
And, I am in Utrecht, yes.
Good. And Jill is a journalist, a marketer, researcher, and educator. And you've also been working quite on some projects, and we're going to talk about one of them, at least. the biology bias, the real reasons behind our decisions, the book that you wrote. Can you briefly describe what the book is about?
Yeah, it's funny because after you played the song by Gilberto Gil, I was actually reflecting on the lyrics of the song. And even though it's a happy rhythm, but he's talking about the initial colonization, which took place in Bahia, and the Aboriginal people who were killed, and slavery. So really heavy, difficult topics to deal with. And that's the thing. These are some of the things that we're very aware in Brazil, that I think we're having more of an open discussion in Europe and in North America at the moment. But you grew up there already, looking around you and seeing the injustices and the different ways people live. So I guess this is where my initial idea came from. I think growing up with this, seeing difficulties that other people experience as well as my own experience. So in terms of the book, I think this is it's a long time coming. So I studied journalism, as you said, and working in journalism and marketing, you always doing a lot of research and covering difficult topics. So this topic for me, I came across it during my PhD research, actually. So I studied decision making, how people make decisions within the consumer context. Working marketing, of course, that's something crucial for us to know. How do people make decisions and why, what motivates them, with the view of influencing them to buy more, of course. But I took an additional view. I thought about what motivates people to vote, for example, or why do we choose a certain partner, or why do we do certain things in a specific way. So I came across a lot of biases that we have, and there's a lot of talk right now about unconscious bias, some cognitive biases, but I also came across biological biases, for example, over 200 biases, in fact, that really pushes us to make all kinds of decisions that we may not be aware of. So it became a bit of an obsession for a while. So I've done a lot of research in the last few years on this topic. Then I thought, how can I make this more accessible, not just an academic paper, but how can I make this more widely available? Then I came up with the idea for the book. And then after that, how do I make it even more accessible? Then came up with the idea for the documentary.
Yeah, and I mean, you've dealt with the consequences of the biases. When you were doing research and when you were writing the book, was it also somehow like kind of an explanation, like why people have this behavior? And what are some eye-openers that you really like learned, like, oh, that's how it works, or that's where it comes from?
Yes, absolutely. I was really, really surprised by a lot of the things I found out, because I started with consumer behavior. So really, why do we buy certain products, etc. But you really think that, you know, looking through our evolutionary history, the things that still happen nowadays that come from this evolutionary past, and we may not be aware of it, or that are detrimental to the current society that we live in, with more abundance, with more safety, etc. But nonetheless, some of these forces are still influencing how we behave right now. I think the eye-opener for me was to, first of all, know that we have these influences, but also now the next step, what can we do to try to avoid, if not completely stop, some of these things that motivate us to behave in sometimes not the most optimum way.
Yeah, and so when you talk about the book, you also had the one moment where you said, okay, let's make a documentary. Why then also a documentary connected to that?
Because I thought about the other side of it. I knew all the facts, you know, I knew everything that was happening and why it was happening, etc. I knew a lot of statistics, but I didn't have the personal stories of people who actually suffered from biases. People like me and, you know, so many people around the world. who may suffer from different types of biases. And then I thought about connecting with people who have similar stories, or some of them have, really, really difficult stories, and bringing this to light, to the public discussion, to see if we can have a positive influence in maybe policy making, for example, or at minimum making people reflect on how they act.
Gill, time flies. We already have to move forward to the next song. Can you briefly explain? Because you brought a nice song, Luis Gonzaga with Asa Branca, but it's really about the music genre. Forró, if I pronounce it right. What is this? And why do you like it?
Yes, forró is a rhythm that is from the northeast of Brazil. And I remember my family dancing to forró growing up in almost every party. And in the month of June, in the northeast of Brazil, now throughout the country actually, but especially in the northeast of Brazil, there are huge parties happening throughout the northeast in every state where people dance, they gather together. There's there are a lot of traditions around it, a lot of music and food, etc. But it's a celebration of the northeastern culture. So forró is a mixture of accordion and drums and specific instruments from the north, and they're European, indigenous, and African in their origin. And it's a very interesting rhythm. It's very distinctive from other rhythms. And I really like it because of the familiarity with the parties my family used to host. And Luis Gonzaga and this song, Asa Branca, it's like an anthem of forró, but also of Brazil. So it talks about the drought in the north and the forced migration that people had to endure going to the south for better opportunities because they didn't have opportunities in the northeast thanks to this awful drought. Okay. So that's again a happy rhythm, but talking about different topics.
It's that's really nice because the previous song as well was very happy rhythm. Well, we can already start playing the song. It's coming. Yes. Yeah, it's a very happy rhythm. Huh? Yeah, so it's the same with the other song, but if you take a look at the lyrics, it's not. It can also be about suffering.
Yes, it's about suffering, but at the same time, a kind of nostalgia of hopefully succeeding and going back to your birthplace eventually.
All right, Gill, thank you so much for joining. We are going to listen to Luis Gonzaga with Asa Branca.